So the notion of eating everything off your plate, I guess, would be tonight's thesis memory, in the sense that, growing up, what's put in front of you is what you eat. I mean, there was no, it's not that there was no choice, it's just that I never really thought to say no to that. It just, that's what you're given. I find it interesting. People are like, I don't want this for dinner. I want, people make, if the family's making food for dinner, that's your dinner. And you eat what's in front of you, you finish it all up. Because, of course, if you don't finish it up, there's, of course, children starving everywhere in this world who would gladly have your meal. So, and I never really understood how that would, like, how does that bear relevance to that? But, I think adults sometimes say stupid shit just to try to, quick and dirty way to just manipulate the situation. Because it really doesn't make sense. It never does make sense. But, of course, if you raise a fuss when you're younger, that's not going to work. But you always eat what's given to you. And leave room for dessert. Or if you didn't finish your meal, then you can't have dessert because you were trying to leave room for dessert. But if you have too much, then you don't have room for dessert. And now you're insulting people who have the dessert. What's a person to do? And then I remember, God, I mean, my early 30s, I figure, it was my grandmother, and, she was certainly advocating of, like, you eat what's in front of you, you finish the whole meal, why aren't you eating? It's the classic, I guess, Russian Jew thing. And then I think in my early 30s, I was just stuffed, and I just didn't want to eat anymore, and she's like, well, you don't have to finish. And I'm like, when did that start? When did that bullshit start? And, I'm glad that, people change and people have different perspectives. And I suppose it comes from an old rooting aspect of, like, when, where she was growing up, when you have the food, you better eat it because you don't know when you don't know when no food's going to be there, feast or famine. When it's a feast, you better feast out because, that way you're really, really going to be starving when it's a famine. And I suppose that mentality went on for, generations, if not millennia. In terms of, where does the stability come from? There's, changing of the seasons, where's in grocery stores, especially where she grew up. She grew up in a world where if you were starving, and your family had a pet rabbit, you got to kill the rabbit. That's the world she was in. So it's a different mentality, it's a different culture, and then it's done up on the kids of the next generation where, the convenience factor to be able to go out and get food wherever, right now, In-N-Out, right now, supermarket, still open, 24-hour convenience store, some crap at a gas station. I can emotionally eat at 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't give a shit. There it is. But, so that necessity is just like the consumption of the food. As to where it comes from, it's certainly there. And then nowadays it's like, realizing, well, you gotta, like, what is the food that one is having? Within what frame window? What is my digestive cycle? What is, when do I start eating in the morning? When do I stop eating at night? Does that change? Maybe every once in a while, just fast. And fasting would be fine, right? Because more than likely, I know there's going to be food tomorrow. Maybe I'm forsaking it. Maybe I'm taking it for granted. Maybe there won't be food tomorrow. But I'm pretty sure there's going to be food tomorrow. In fact, if I was a betting person, and for anybody that always just wants to just go, oh, well, you never know. Fuck your never know. Because here's where you can put your money where your mouth is with your, you never know. You're going to bet $20. And whatever. $20. You're going to bet $20 on you never know, or you're going to bet $20 on the fact that there's going to be food tomorrow. If you live in a world where you can really, really bet on $20 that there's no food tomorrow, and let's be real, like, I'm talking about, like, where access to food, access. And when you don't have access, that's when you need to really, really be worried, right? And in American culture, that's really, I mean, the access to food comparatively to the rest of the world. And, you know, so it's always there, taken for granted, whenever one wants, whenever it's available. You know, oh, I want to eat food. There's Dunkin' Donuts. There's this. There's that. But certainly, due to its high availability, one has to, you know, be careful to not eat every single thing that's in front of you. And if the way, you know, I grew up eating everything in front of you, it was nice to hear my grandmother finally change the tune of the family, you know, motto with regard to eating whatever's in front of you. But you know, it was at a time in my life where I just needed to, you know, figure out how much am I eating? Why am I eating this? Am I really hungry? You know, I remember she would give me a chocolate bar. And chocolate bars cut into little individual pieces, but of course I would kill the chocolate bar within, like, I don't know, 20 minutes, the whole thing. And she's like, well, why can't you just take one little thing and let it simmer, let it taste the food, don't swallow it, just taste it, let it simmer and settle in your mouth. Couldn't even do it. I remember it's almost like that frustration of how many licks does it take to get to the bottom, you know, to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop, you know, and you're looking at the patience of an owl. How many bites does it take to get through an In-N-Out burger? Was it satiating? How fast would we eat something? How fast am I going to go through my overpriced corporate beverage latte, some 20-ounce kind of downing it? Where's that money going? What's the point of that? So, you know, you eat what's in front of you, but maybe have lesser plates. Maybe have portion control. Maybe, say, one less egg. I guess it depends on your goal, right? If you're looking to sustain, lose, or gain, and gain what, and lose what, and sustain in what way. But, yeah, you got to eat what's in front of you. You know, you got to maybe change with the times and figure out what's going to work for you to eat when and where. But you got to eat, right? Because if you exert yourself and you don't eat, your blood sugar drops down, dehydration, bad things happen. We need salt, we need sugar, we need fat to some degree. Ramifications from too much or too little from either one of those three elements is not good. But well balanced, try to have nutritional meals. Morning, you know, like, you know, I mean, I was lucky enough. I mean, there was like a morning salad with your egg. Breakfast was eggs and salad. There was an occasional time, I mean, French toast. You got to break out the challah bread for that. It's always extraordinary what I would consume. I mean, I could kill like a half loaf. So, but you know, that also lends itself to my own personal temptations of, you know, I'll just kill a bag of, yeah, like I said the other day, Scandinavian Swimmers, or any gummy candy, or it doesn't matter how big the bag is, I'll go through it. Why not? So, yeah. You got to eat what's ever in front of you, or do you? Maybe there's a little self-control that's involved, and that should be exercised. Thanks for listening.